Since we are already live, I'll go ahead and get us started. Welcome to the June 16, 2026 regular board meeting of the Lynn Ben Lincoln Education Service District Board of Directors. Want to start with introductions. If we want to start, Lisa, if you want to start, and then we'll go around the table here, and then we'll do online after.
Lisa Shane, Executive Assistant, Board Secretary. Michelle Nielsen, Autism Consultant.
Martha Ware, Executive Financial Officer.
Tim Jones, Executive IT Officer.
Christina Wonderly, Executive Director of Human Resources.
Miriam Cummins, she, her, Aya, Board Director for Zone 6.
Amy Better, she, her, Board Director for Zone 5.
Jason Hayes, Superintendent.
Alex Nalavaiko, Principal of Long-Term Care.
Michael Thompson, Board Director, Zone 3. Eddie Simonton, Board of Directors, Zone 7.
Nancy Griffith, Assistant Superintendent.
Harold Bass, Cybersecurity Technician.
Don, you want to introduce yourself?
Go ahead. My name is Dawn Lewis and I'm the Office Manager of Long-Term Care and Treatment Schools. Happy to have you here.
It looks like Lori just jumped on.
Perfect.
Lori, can you hear us okay?
I can hear you. I'm trying to get going here. Yeah, I had some technical difficulties. So, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, and we just are doing introductions and we are ready for you.
I'm Lori Greenfield, board member, representative of Zone 2.
Thank you. All right, so let's go ahead and rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And then next up, monthly acknowledgements.
Okay, so if you turn your attention to page 5 of your packet, we have 4 different monthly acknowledgements this month that I'm highlighting. LGBTQ plus Pride Month, Juneteenth, World Refuge Day, and National Reunification Month. And so this is always a good time to reflect on these acknowledgements. I also want to point out, just in terms of process, because I think this is an important aspect to just understand process-wide and how these have come together. I have been carrying on this tradition of these monthly acknowledgements from my predecessor, Tanya Everest, who worked with our Equity, Diversity and Inclusion Leadership Committee several years ago, put together a list, and I actually worked from the same list that team put together, so it wasn't just one person sitting down and deciding what should we show up each month in terms of acknowledgements. I'm planning on, because there's different ideas that people have about, one particular acknowledgement or another that maybe we should be considering. I am planning on bringing some work back to that committee, that staff committee, as well as a superintendent work group committee that will be 3 board members and myself, to have some process around that list and see if we want to revise it going into this next fiscal year. So just wanted to put that out. That's it for today. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And then do we have any public comment? Okay, thank you. Okay, and so next up, I'm going to open the public hearing on the 2027 budget, and if there is public comment, will be opportunity to share it both at the beginning and the end of the hearing. So I am officially opening the hearing on the general fund appropriation, debt service appropriation, and special revenue appropriation. Do we have any comment? Okay. All right, so the hearing is open. And then next up on the agenda is the consent agenda. Does anyone have any comments, any questions?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those against say no. Okay, we have unanimously approved the consent agenda. And then, okay. I will ask again for, I doubt it's changed since the last 30 seconds. Yeah, no public comments, okay. And I will go ahead and close the public hearing on the 2026-2027 budget. On the general fund appropriation, debt service appropriation, and special revenue appropriation. And then following that, we have some resolutions to make to officially adopt the budget and the tax rate. So if there's any discussion or if anyone has questions regarding this, otherwise I will entertain motions when you are ready.
I move to adopt resolution number 02-2526, adopting the supplemental budget and updating appropriations for fiscal year 2025-2026.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to adopt resolution number 02-2526, adopting the supplemental budget and updating appropriations for fiscal year 2025-2026. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those against say no. It has been unanimously approved to adopt resolution number 02-2526, adopting the supplemental budget and updating appropriations for fiscal year 2025-2026. On to the next action. Question or motion?
I would move that we adopt resolution number 03-2526, which adopts the budget and makes appropriations for fiscal year 2026-2027.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to adopt resolution number 03-2526, adopting the budget and making appropriations for fiscal year 2026-2027. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those against say no. All right, we have unanimously adopted resolution number 03-2526, adopting the budget and making appropriations for fiscal year 2026-2027. Next.
And I move to approve resolution 04-2526. Imposing the tax rate in categorizing taxes for fiscal year 2026 to 2027.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to adopt resolution number 04-2526, imposing the tax rate and categorizing taxes for fiscal year 2026-2027. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those against say no. All right, we have unanimously adopted resolution number 04-2526, imposing the tax rate and categorizing taxes for fiscal year 2026-2027.
Thank you, Rocco, to you and your team. I know how much work goes into creating a budget document and this whole process, so much appreciated.
Thank you on behalf of all of our staff for letting us cut to our paychecks.
Absolutely. All right, and then the next motion has to do with LBLESD, if you want to.
Yeah, just a couple of things with this one. So on pages 31 through 34 is the amendment to the ORS 190 agreement with Oregon Association of Education Service Districts. And primarily, the changes to this agreement need to be adopted by each of the ESD boards. And the reason is that we are no longer going to be their fiscal agent. That is transferring to Multnomah ESD. So it names Multnomah ESD as the new sponsoring organization, as well as it adds an additional layer of protection
for OIESD members that are a part of their board in this as well. So we just need a motion to agree to this.
I move to approve the legal agreement for operational structures for OIESD and its members.
I'll second.
All right, it has been moved and seconded to approve the legal agreement for operational structures for OAESD and its members. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
And all those against say no. All right, we have unanimously approved the legal agreement for operational structures for OAESD and its members. And then for the next one, we don't have any motion, so following our board development with Vince, we have a tentative copy of our board operating agreement, and it's included in the packet. We don't have to do anything about it now. We have scheduled another board work session for just before our I think it's the week prior to our July.
Yeah, I
meeting.
need to get all that confirmed and
Mhm.
sent out and everything.
Okay.
Yep.
But the thought is that we will spend some time just processing this, take a look at it, see if we have anything to add, any comments to make. Not expecting anyone to make a decision tonight, but we're hoping that at the work session, that we'll have had enough time to process it, and think if it's missing anything or if anything needs to be changed, and then hopefully be able to adopt it at that work session. So at this point, it's for information purposes, so that we can just have some time with it.
Vince just wanted to make sure you had enough time.
Always a good idea. Okay, and then moving on from there, board director reports. Does anyone have stuff to share?
Michelle?
Could you say that again?
Board director reports, Lori. Yes, please ask if you can hear me at any point in time, please let me know. Do you have anything you'd like to share for board director reports, Lori?
Not at this time.
Thank you.
I had the privilege of touring long-term care and treatment. So thank you to Dawn for your hospitality, and Alex as well, plus the great tour. Looking forward to scheduling another time to do a little bit more. But really looking forward to coming out and seeing a little bit more of the program. What you're doing out there, even in my short visit, was moving to me. And so I just can't wait to dive in and learn a little bit more. Also I had the privilege of participating in the executive assistant interviews here. So super impressed by the hiring process. So kudos to you, Christina. I was really pleasantly surprised at the highest training that happens, and knowing that that's the practice for hiring here at the ESD. Was some really good things to think about before diving in. And I've not been a part of interviews that took that much time to really prepare the interview committee to look at applicants through the right lens. So kudos to you for that. And then just a shout out, I know Bill's not here, and Lori, because I happened to be on the OSBA website and stumbled upon the new board member cohort webpage. And I don't know if you know this, but your face is on the screen. You and Bill are there as the face of the new board member cohort thing as header on that webpage. And so I feel like I know a couple of celebrities. So I just thought I'd give you a little shout out for the work you're doing in that new board member cohort.
Well, they're famous. Now I have to go
I
look
did not
at
know that.
Get out.
Go check it.
That's interesting. I didn't know that my face was on that page.
It's a silhouette, but I could tell it was you.
I'd like to echo what Eddie said about, because I was involved in another part of the hiring process. And I was also really impressed by the level, the care that we take to make sure that bias is not any part of the process, and just to make sure that everything is done thoughtfully. And yeah, I was really impressed by it. So thank you so much. Okay, we can dive into everyone's favorite part of the evening. Policy.
Yes, I have a whole bunch for you. They're all related. And so what I'm gonna do is just run through them one at a time. But really, most of these are things that are all interconnected because they all have to do with you as the board. And so really, there have been a number of revisions that OSBA has needed to clarify in terms of replacing board officers, required timelines for board actions, board chair responsibilities, and delegation of spokesperson duties. There's a couple of these that you'll see that have, as we go through, have a lot of green text, and that's because we actually don't have a couple of these policies. They're considered optional. However, in us looking at this with new eyes, I feel like that we should just have these in our library as well. So I'm just gonna run through these and see what questions you have. So the first one is about board members' authority and responsibilities, and you can see this is one of the all green ones. And what I'd like to do in terms of process here is see what questions you have. I am going to call out a couple of areas in here where there are brackets, and brackets mean it's an optional part of the policy that we can decide to use it or not use it. And that still works with the legal interpretation that the lawyers that create this policy language go through. And so if you take a look, there are no brackets on page 1 of this policy, BBAA. But there is a section of brackets regarding visits to schools. I think given that we're in ESD, we do have some school programs, but I'm not sure that we necessarily need that in terms of communication in there, but we also could just leave it and it would be perfectly fine. And then that's really it in terms of brackets. The other part of the process, if you have questions, let's see what questions you have as we go through each one. If you don't have questions and you're perfectly fine with it as is, what we're going to do is set it aside and it'll show up in consent agenda next month. If there are some that need a little bit more conversation or that I need to get clarification and bring back to you, instead of bringing them back in consent agenda, I'm going to bring them back as a second reading where we can actually have some more discussion on it before you adopt the policy. So questions about BBAA?
I have a question.
Yeah,
On
which-
the Oregon ethics law,
Uh-huh.
where it says all board members will adhere to Oregon government ethic laws, including filing the statement of economic interest that's required by Oregon revised statute or 244. On that one, when is it due to fill out? Because I haven't filled one out. ESDs do.
Yeah, so that's actually one that is not required for ESTs
Okay,
people to do.
so I thought I talked to someone at OSBA and they said we do.
Not that I'm aware of. We can double check that,
Okay.
but
It's right now, it's only you and Rocco.
yeah.
So
Okay.
Brendan
board
and
members
Rocco
are
are
excluded.
only 2 for
Yeah.
PST.
Okay, so just making sure that we're doing it.
We will double check it.
That would be.
But I'm
Okay.
certain that
Yeah.
you don't.
Yeah, we get,
We get prompted.
when people are doing that,
Oh, okay.
we get prompted for it and we're
Yes.
supposed to make sure everybody does.
Yeah.
And I have an email that has clarification on that, it'll just take me a
Okay.
minute to find it.
Okay.
I can
Perfect,
send
thank
that out
you.
that shows, because I questioned it when
Okay.
all of the districts were getting ready, they're
Yes,
bothering their board members.
Mhm.
I was like, I don't do that.
Yeah.
Am I supposed to be doing it? And they
Yeah.
clarified in an email that we do.
We don't.
Yeah,
Okay.
and OGEC does, they actually prompt the people that need to do it, and so, I believe it's was it March that we usually get, I mean, Rob and I usually do it,
Yeah.
whatever it is.
So in this case, then it says all board members will hire, including filing, so if we don't need to
We
do it.
probably don't, we probably could just strike that part.
Okay.
So the only thing I would say is that, since you are not required, you are still adhering to it. If they
Yes.
put it in, then
we
we
don't
would
have
have
to
to
change
update the policy.
Oh, okay. That's fair.
Because we say, in the policy, we say we're going to do it based on the ORS, and the
Exactly.
ORS right now says we
Exactly.
don't have to.
Yeah, exactly, so if you leave it, it makes it so we are out of compliance.
Sure.
Okay, should we put like a footnote, it's like clarifying that,
This is the policy recommendation that OSBA has for us, and they do look at it through the lens of ESDs as well, so I don't know that too.
but I feel like sometimes with OSBA, because they work more closely with other school districts, sometimes the ESDs don't get.
That is definitely the case some of the time.
Happens
Yeah.
and they acknowledge it, so
Yeah.
that's why I'm like, they're looking it through a lens, yes. But because we, the ESD board members, don't have to, I just wanna make sure clarification. Because right now, if somebody else, outside would be looking in, they'll be like, you have to do it. And then they're gonna file a complaint against us that we're not doing it.
Yeah, my recommendation would be to either strike it, knowing that we will have to come back and change it. If we put a footnote, we'd also have to change that anyway. So if we want it to just adhere to the law and not have to go back and change it, we should just leave it as is. So I think there's kind of two options that are there. And it is true in the past, OSBA hasn't always remembered ESDs. I think they're getting better. So
Yeah.
certainly, because we're actually receiving ESD specific policies now, which we didn't before. So.
Yeah, it's just a wording right now and
Yeah.
makes it sound like we as a board have to. That's why
Absolutely.
I want that clarification, since we don't have to. I don't want our stakeholders to be able to like, wait, you have to, because here's on this policy and we can highlight it on, BBAA on number 9, you have to.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm.
How about this?
that way.
How about this is one that we will come back as a second reading. We'll get clarification from OSBA on, and instead of just having a consent agenda,
Yeah,
there can be some further discussion.
okay,
Go for it. So, okay, the next one, BCB, is on board officers, and this is just some additional information that OSBA has added, and so you can see the additional information in green that's there. And then there's some information at the end about board or district spokesperson. So questions about this?
I had a couple of questions.
Yeah, absolutely. We're at.
This was very educational for me, reading all of these things that we're supposed to, that make us board members. That the board, is it that the board chair appoints board members to committees unless otherwise ordered by the board? I was number 5. I got a little confused there. I'm reading all of this on my phone because I had some technical difficulties here.
Absolutely. So if we were to have an official board committee, and really the only board committee that we have at this time is the budget committee, then the chair can appoint board members to committees. And a lot of times where this will show up is if the board decides to have, the most common in school districts is if at a certain point, they might have a committee on facilities to kind of do pre-bond work. And then in that case, the board chair would recommend people for a committee and appoint people to committees. The small groups that we have are actually not board committees. Those are superintendent groups. And those are done in a more informal way because I get to select those. Usually the selection is, hey, who wants to do this? It's more informal, but what that does is it keeps those as private meetings rather than meetings that must be in the public. Any board committee must be given public notice, just like any regular board meeting. So that's a nuance there. Not something that we would end up using very often, but if there's some reason that we need a committee, we have the options.
I have another question on this one.
Yeah.
Number 10. In what does that mean? That they affect the board's annual evaluation? What does that?
But what it basically means is that they are the lead, they conduct the board's annual evaluation of the superintendent. It's a strange way to put it. I'm not sure, maybe a lawyer that writes policy language would probably tell me, well, this is the reason why we say it this way. I'm not sure why, but that is what it means, is that the
Okay,
chair is the one that helps set the process for my evaluation and then ultimately writes my evaluation based on the feedback of other board members.
so that's interesting because I thought I learned at the school board's training that what happens is they filter all of our comments
Yeah,
before.
that's usually how it works, and that's how we've done it here as well, is that it really is more of a facilitated process. The other, so that's typically how it is that, everybody puts their comments in, and that's what you all did, this year. And then Amy took those comments, all together and then wrote up a summary evaluation. So. I don't
Oh,
know,
see,
Amy.
Amy, is that true? Did you have to go through all of the comments?
Yes, well, we essentially just synthesized to kind of give common themes for each of the categories. So for like the official documents, we synthesized, Jason has a copy of both the synthesized one where it's basically abbreviated and the themes of board member comments under each category. And then he also has a copy of our full comments as well, because we thought that was important to pass on, but just a little heavy for the actual formal document, if that makes sense. And then I just added some closing paragraphs, summarizing paragraphs at the end.
So at the training, at the training that Bill and Denise and I attended, we were told that the OSBA actually facilitates that process and that they synthesize.
If we hire them.
Yeah.
If
Okay.
the board hires, and of course, they would like to do every superintendent's evaluation. You too could spend $10,000+
Try
on evaluation.
20,000.
Is that what it is?
For the city, no, for the city council.
Yeah.
Oh geez.
To do the city managers by signing.
Yeah.
Jason, I encourage you to look at consulting after you're done doing that. I think it's a good racket.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I wanna say the last time that I heard, it's upwards of 10+, and that was years ago, so I don't know what it is now, but yeah, they will help in evaluations, and I think where it always is something for the board to consider, is in those moments when communities are in a really awkward situation and have a highly contentious things going on with their board and superintendent relationship. And sometimes it's maybe not even the board and the superintendent relationship, but it's also the community and giving pressure on the board of saying, okay, well, we use this third party to do the superintendent evaluation. So,
or staff, that was a strong argument that staff doesn't feel like they can speak freely to an elected board member, but they could to a consultant, so you gotta spend all this money.
Yeah.
It kind of blows my mind that they can't be professional, but yeah, you're correct. Different.
Any other questions regarding this policy? Those are good clarifying questions.
Thanks for that, Lori. That was we haven't really talked about that, but yeah, Denise had just kind of informally chatting with her about her learning process, and that had come up, and we chatted about it a little bit, and I was like, yeah, I suppose they offer that as a service, but yeah, we also have the option to do it ourselves if we don't want to hire OSBA for it, so that's nice.
Absolutely. Okay, so the next one is policy BCE. And so this is actually, there's on page 46, there is a delete. This is one where occasionally OSBA will just do such a big rewrite of a policy that rather than show you all of the line by line, take this out, here's the red text and everything else, they'll just say, just delete the old one and here's the new one. Now, again, we almost never use board committees. And so, this is a policy that probably will never really be utilized very much, but we do need to have it. And so you can see, delete the old one, new text here. Any questions regarding the text on pages 47 or 48?
Didn't have any.
Hearing none, I'll go on to the next one on page 49, and you will see that we have a few other policies that are in here to delete because they are picked up by the next page later on here. So they are recommending that we delete policy BCF, advisory committees to the board, and delete policy BDA, board meetings, and this is on page 50 and 51, 50, 51, 52, and 53, because those all get wrapped into policy BD, which starts on page 54. And so you can say pages 54 through 59 is all the new policy language that has to do with board meetings, notices, communication, etc. Questions regarding the language on pages 54 through 59?
Fewer policies, I like it.
Okay, I'm gonna move on. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Lori.
I'm trying to remember, I highlighted when I was on the train today, work the number 4, and I cannot remember why.
On work sessions, is that what you're looking at?
Yeah. I don't have a recollection as to why. If I think of a question regarding this, I will ask you at another time.
Absolutely, that's totally fine, yeah. Okay. Yeah, really, work sessions, it just outlines what a work session is for, and then the main thing to remember, and this is one that occasionally has gotten boards in trouble, is that they'll think, oh, well, it's just a work session, and then they don't give it public notice, and it's not a meeting done in public, and work sessions also are meetings that must be done in the public. Okay, so if we go to page 60 of your packet, this is one around executive sessions. And this is a policy, and Lisa, help me out and remember, because I left my notes on my desk, but this is one that we did not have in the past, yes. So we didn't have this one in the past. And I think the language in here is, I think, very important for the board to have, primarily because if you want to think about any area in your board work that could get you in a personal bit of trouble, that actually where you can get personally fined for your wonderful volunteer job that you have, it almost always has to do with executive sessions and people doing executive sessions wrong. And so I think it's really important to have this policy so that it's clear about how executive sessions are done and all of the language that goes with it. So I'll entertain any questions on this, but it is my recommendation that we add this policy to our library.
I like that it spells out the ORSs.
For sure. Yeah, it makes it very clear.
Very clear.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so then we are on to page 63. So we have a policy that we're going to delete on board meeting procedures as page 63 and page 64. And then they're actually adding in the board meeting BDD, board meeting procedures, which is on page 65 and a little bit on page 66. And then also you can see on page 67, 68, and 69 information about board meeting agendas. And so.
I did have a question on the executive session.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go back to that. What page are you on?
So I'm trying to find it because I also highlighted it and now I can't remember where I put it. I was looking on my phone. It was about the media the media can attend executive sessions. The part that I'm confused about is, one, why? Because then they're gonna report to the public what was said during executive session. That's their job. So if that's the case, then why is that any different from just having the public attend?
I think they're required not to report, at least
They
right
are,
away.
yeah. And really the rationale around media and executive sessions is it is a stopgap to keep boards accountable for what goes on in an executive session. They're bound by their own ethics and by Oregon ethics not to report on what they learned in executive sessions. Now, I will tell you that I have heard of stories from colleagues. I have seen instances and myself where the media person in an executive session gathers context to be able to ask very pointed questions when they are out of executive session. My own personal opinion on this, and I know we're in a public meeting, but I will just say that's pretty shady. And I would hope that a media person in our area would not do that, but they absolutely have the legal rights to be in executive session. And the second part of your question is, well, why wouldn't we just do it in public session? Well, there's a variety of reasons that go into all these things and why we wouldn't. The easiest one that I would give would be around staff, is that staff have a right, if they are in a disciplinary situation and they want to appeal to the board, to be able to have their appeal heard in a private way, and not have it, be out in public. And so staff can have their day with the board, so to speak, in an executive session without having it be made public. Now, staff in that instance can actually choose to move it into a public session if they would like, but that's their choice, not our choice.
Yeah, I guess my concern would be, like, in that case, if a staff member wants to address the board and having the media there, does the staff have a choice to not have the media there? Because I feel like if that's privacy, I'm just trying to like,
It feels icky.
Yes,
I get it, for sure.
Like
And
it.
the press is there to keep us honest, because as soon as we start discussing matters outside of the noted or the noticed
Yeah,
ORS, they can report.
yeah.
Exactly.
So that's why I always say, like, I welcome Lisa or any staff member who says, time out, you're starting to get off of whatever we're being. But
Yeah.
they're here to keep us honest, and there's always been questions about, well, what if they do report on something? Good luck.
Yeah,
There's not a lot of.
there's no recourse
Yeah.
for the board. If they decide to report on something in executive session, there's really no recourse for the board in that case, other than that media person's reputation,
Okay.
in that way.
Because that would be my concern, like, let's say they report, like, they disclose information they're not supposed to, and then doesn't fall back on the board because we were in discussion, and then they reported, and now it's like, oh, the board member said that.
It wouldn't fall back on the board. What Eddie pointed out that is actually the thing that gets boards in trouble the most is that they will read themselves into executive session for one particular thing. And then they will talk about other things that they didn't read into the executive session for. And then that's where, especially if the board decides, well, we're gonna talk about, and well, most of the trouble comes is if they start talking about staff members that aren't in the room
Yeah.
to be able to defend themselves.
Mhm.
Yeah, so.
Okay.
And all of those types of concerns for board members go to the Government Ethics Commission. Good questions. Yeah,
Good question.
okay, so any questions about pages 65 through 69?
I just had a comment more than a question. I'm on page 68 under number 3. I just don't know. So it says part of, the records and meetings of board minutes. So it says the result of all votes and vote of each member by name for all actions taken. I don't think we.
So we, in our minutes, we put down what the action, so tonight, all of you voted yes for all of the things. So basically Lisa will write, there was unanimous consent,
And in the,
which
all of your names are listed.
all of your names are listed as present. And so then that's implied that, okay, you all, if we had a split vote in one way, Lisa does know
Okay.
the person is.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's a good question to ask. Yeah.
That was the only one I had.
Okay, and then the last one on here is a policy that we have that just has a bit of there is a bracket in here, so if you look at board member compensation and expense reimbursement, this is not one. You don't receive you don't receive compensation for being a part of this board. This is a policy that we have on the books. And you can see some of the changes in here that they have. In the brackets, it says the amount of the stipend is limited to the amount included in the budget. The stipend amount will be approved by resolution of the board. My recommendation would just be to leave that in there. This is something that if the board at some point decides to build into the budget stipends for yourself, that's something that this policy would allow you to do if that's something the board chose to do.
Is that something that the law now allows?
Yes. It
Okay.
does. Yeah.
That one
This is one of those spots that goes to Miriam's point earlier where and it wasn't OSPA that forgot about ESTs, it was the legislature that forgot about.
Yeah, that was a good one.
And you know, there's like good news and bad news with that. I honestly, I would take them forgetting about us over remembering us. I would much rather stay below the radar on things than having them notice us, because when they notice us, then they tend to write laws that usually impact us in not always the most positive way.
So was this the House bill that passed this year in 2026, 4066?
Yes, yep. It was amended to include ESDs.
Okay, yeah.
My understanding is you have to declare a potential conflict of interest
Yes,
before you vote, like directly before you vote to pay yourself.
exactly. It's a really funky thing, you know.
So that the ethics commission is officially aware that we said we're gonna take a vote that may lead to financial gain.
Yeah, how could you not, if you're saying, oh, well, we don't vote on anything that would lead to financial gain, but we're directly voting on something that leads to your financial gain. I'm not sure. I would advise you one way or the other on that, because I think if I were in your seats, that's a very strange spot to be. Yeah, well, we made it through all of those. I will bring. Oh, yes,
The very
absolutely.
first one you were asking about the filing, my email, I pulled it up and I asked, this year I said, you know, I just want to double check on this. We were left out in previous years. I want to make sure that we're following through and doing what we need to. ESD board members were not in the legislation and we hope to keep it that way. So they do not need to file.
Okay,
And that is from OSBA.
all right.
Thank you.
So I think what it comes down to is, if you feel comfortable just leaving it as this is the law, if you would like, then we will just have to make a note that if we see a change, and we could remove that sentence, in which case we'll just have to make a note to bring it back if for some reason they change it. So
Go ahead.
no,
I was just thinking for that, I think for clarification, because again, these policies or stakeholders see because it's public. I think by removing it, it's going to help with that clarification because the asset reads, it's indicated that we have to. Because it's including it, and so I'm just thinking for language, for it to make sense. And then once we are included, we can always add it.
what I would say is, I think that's perfectly fine, and what we can do is we'll bring all of them except that one back in consent agenda, and you can approve all of those. You can all give it some thought. I will bring, because we changed this, I'll bring you two options to look at, where you can do it as a second read. And hopefully, so that sounds.
That sounds fair.
Okay, that's great. Okay.
I
well,
do
we
have
made it.
I have a question.
Great, go ahead.
Sorry, the policy about board member compensation and expense reimbursement. The idea, I don't get it. I don't get how we could possibly. I mean, would the compensation be, what is it? Our limit is like $50 value from one source.
Yeah.
And
That would be if you look at it as a gift, but this actually, it allows for there to be, like compensation, like it is a job. Yeah.
okay, so it's no longer a volunteer position. So we would have the right to vote on, okay.
Yeah.
Just,
I'm not sure how many boards have exercised this, honestly.
That'll be a good
It
question.
would be an interesting thing. I mean, I can ask the next time I'm in a meeting with OSBA just to see how many boards are doing it. I don't know. The only advice that I would give our board is, I think I would just be very cautious because I think it's a slippery slope in terms of, taking an elected position where you get compensation. Granted, there are plenty of elected positions that have compensation, but it's just a different dynamic than it is typical, and so it just will invite questions. Doesn't mean it's good or bad, but you just have to do whatever you do with eyes wide open.
I mean, I think the purpose.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No.
Just to explain, I think why with legislature, why they did put this bill forward was because they were seeing a disparity of having people join, be on boards, and it was leaving out communities that wanted to participate, but they couldn't because of the financial hit, because there were a lot of like single moms or people who are like, you know what, I want to be on the board, but I can't afford to take time away. And so that's one of the reasons why they wanted to make it as equitable and accessible to everyone by creating and reducing some of that burden to be able to have.
It's a
people.
barrier reducer.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that is why they offer it, and it's into it.
It was pushed by Representative Ben Bauman, who was I believe, Tiger, I'm not sure, Wilsonville Tiger Tualatin school board member before he became representative, so he came with that experience and pushed for this, and I think the total possible is only about
I think it was 500.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think stipend's a much better word than compensation,
Yes.
truly as a stipend.
Okay. Well, thanks for that clarification. That really helps me understand where this is coming from. It makes good sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And thanks for asking the questions.
Good memory, because I had forgotten. I remember when it came up and I remember hearing the arguments on both sides, but I couldn't remember now what
Yeah, it's a
it was.
really interesting
Yeah,
idea.
yes, I mean, I remember because I actually testified on it for it, so there you go, that's probably good information.
Okay,
All right.
that's it for policy. Thank you.
Yay, you made it through the big stack of policy. All right, next up is long-term care and treatment. Woo-hoo! Thank you. We appreciate it. Thank you.
I'll work to share my screen and you can call for Pyro to help me. Hopefully not. See you shortly. All right, things look good. Well, thank you, everyone. I'm Alex Nelevico. Apologize for my grass pollen allergies. I'm here planning to share at a glance, 2 areas of highlight and then acknowledging a future board presentation tied to our student investment account. So I'm going to spend about 5 minutes per section on the first 2, pause a moment, then highlight the plan for the third one. And Nancy will also help support me as my executive conduit for all things long-term care and treatment. But really excited to be here. I have had the opportunity of hosting most of you for at least an abbreviated session or more of a full tour. And even if you have done a bigger tour, we'd love for you to come back if you have specific questions after today. But I'll work to jump into it. So, at a glance, for long-term care and treatment programs with LBLESD, What do we have? What do we offer? We have 2 day treatment program equivalents and 1 residential. For those of you who want kind of the bare minimum for day treatment, this is where students come to our campus during the day, but then return to their local home or community at night. For those 2 programs, we have an Old Mill Center Intensive Treatment Service program. There's typically 4 to 6 students representing ages 3 to 6, or maybe 6 or 7 for those of you who have kids. And then we have a day treatment program that has about 16 to 20 students at any given point, and that could be grades kindergarten through 12th. And then at our residential treatment program partnership, those are the kids that live on site at the Corvallis campus. Average day can be about 3 to 6 months, depending on factors, and there's typically pretty consistently 48 students between 6 through 12. So real quick snapshot of our 3 program offerings and the difference between them. I often get questions in my roles, especially from school districts, about how do kids access our programs? Can districts make referrals? What does that look like? So historic context to be referred and access long-term care and treatment, that has to be done by a licensed mental health provider. Often you hear the acronyms QMHP that makes the recommendation or referral. Usually that starts with the local community trying some mental health care and unmet needs, needing further supports, and eventually students make it to day treatment. As part of that process, and maybe in some of the zones that we represent, you might hear schools say, we think we have strong candidates for at least some youth that might respond well to day treatment. So this year, something I wanted to highlight that started in Lynn County with an intended plan to go into Benton County next year, and ongoing conversations with Lincoln County and what that could look like, is a shared partnership. So Trillium Family Services, who represents the day treatment program, kindergarten through 12th grade, acknowledge that school districts have great information and might have great considerations for a student and their family to be a potential referral. So I got to share in that partnership with Nancy and the strategic partnerships team on how to share that information and share that knowledge. We now get school district considerations from Lynn County schools and a plan for Benton County. And then the ongoing acknowledgement that Lincoln County is hugely important. They just run, for some of their school programs, greater than 90 minutes away, which is a long time for any youth to be on a school bus to come from places like Waldport to Corvallis. So at a quick highlight of the pathways to our program.
What does what are we doing for Lincoln County?
Yeah.
I don't even realize it.
Great question. So May of 2025, the Olala Center closed down, and it's my understanding that originally served as their day treatment equivalent. And so there is a service gap, a resource gap. We do still have students come from places like Toledo and Newport that access both our day treatment program and residential treatment program. If they're coming for day treatment, it is that conversation with the family of, do you have a kindergarten child being on the bus from Newport, Corvallis? Is that in their best interest for them to do quality mental health care? What's your willingness to drive that far or to be on Zoom? So I don't know if that highlights that question at a glance. But there is the desire of Trillium to share in that conversation of what that could look like for Lincoln County, knowing that the needs are there no matter what county you are in Oregon. As part of people's tours, one of my favorite things to highlight is what do we hope to convey for students in our partnership? So we as LBLESD are the education providers, so we champion that information. Trillium Family Services and Old Mill Center represent the mental health part of the equation. And so we get to share in the knowledge of when students exit our program, we hope to convey that there's not necessarily fixing mental health or not fixing it, but we do and have ways of substantially describing how students are better equipped and more supported to face stressful situations, to have skills to use both in their local school as well as their home and community, and getting to share that. One of my favorite parts of working with our staff and having Don here as a great representative of thinking about the students first and the systems to support them second. So equity all the way down to the individual child and how that goes outward to the receiving school district was a great process to be a part of. Both Trillium and Old Mill Center work closely with the returning community, of course, the family and school district on what does that look like? What have been some of the successes? What are the transferable skills from long-term care and treatment that could be incorporated for the family as well as the local school? So. For those, well, very hard to see this infographic on the screen, but imagine a bridge that is long-term care and treatment of where the student starts and where the family starts, where they might look like dysregulation, not readiness for school, disconnected, not really sure where to go, and there is this shared partnership. So we as the education provider, the other departments within LBLESD, our mental health partners, the community, the local school districts of our region, all working to wrap around that student and family to successfully not only navigate our stabilization, but also that return to the community where the students can be better equipped and have more skills to face the challenges ahead of them. So beyond our program at a glance, we support students with high levels of mental health need. And as part of that, one of our program goals that we also report to you as a board is just around our adult wellness, our adult work culture, and those wellness practices. So in order for us to serve students, we have to be our most regulated selves, because if we as adults aren't ready, the students can't be supported and be ready for that eventual discharge and the return to their community. So this is meant to be a highlight of what we have done and accomplished this year, which I'm very proud of. And so this is a summary at a glance. And to start the school year off, our staff reviewed this, had opportunities to share input, kind of alter some plans, but in short, I wanted our staff to know our program's commitment, not just for myself as the principal, but in ways that people such as Nancy and other members of our cabinet intend to support. And so those ranged from informal care team approaches of how we check in with each other when we experience adverse events, the planned and purposeful ways that we intended to measure our wellness, to look at how we're more at risk of being burned out or fatigued, our skill building, so professional development, how we have conversations when adults don't agree on things. And so that was our commitment to ourselves for this year. And I'm hoping to pull out a few snapshots to share with you all as a board, because it was a extremely successful year from my perspective. Again, having Dawn here, adults don't have to agree with each other all the time. And we utilized a resource that was shared with us through our cabinet from Galen about how to navigate those conversations. And so we normalized that when you have questions or you're experiencing discontent, I want to encourage those conversations that happen adult to adult. And there have been times where I've had to navigate that both as the person asking permission to say my thoughts and feelings, and then having staff hold me accountable to say, hey, Alex, I would also like to ask permission saying the thing and talking about that. And so that has been an extremely valuable resource that the cabinet brought to our long-term care and treatment program that we have used from August to current, and a plan to continue its use into next school year. From an objective standpoint, I was very excited for those of you who may or may not know about the ProQual, the Professional Quality of Life Scale. This is a standardized tool for teachers as well as medical professionals to look at objectively through a standardized question, their compassion satisfaction, how they feel connected with their job, their risk of burnout, and their exposure to secondary trauma. So our plan was to do an October baseline and then a March reassessment. Even our March scores were very strong, so they represented low risk to very, very mild risk, and everything through our practices from a data standpoint showed that people felt more satisfied with their job. They were less likely to experience signs of burnout or secondary traumatic stress, even in our high intensity environment. And that speaks to having a team of staff members that care and support each other. One of my favorite tools that I got to use, especially in strategic partnerships that I wanted to carry over into long-term care achievement, was a qualitative tool called empathy interviews, which is an opportunity to ask open-ended questions to our staff or our population and look for those themes. So I think I heard during for Amy, I'm going to talk about synthesizing themes and data. So that is the purpose of this, is to take the stories of our staff and to synthesize those themes. So I got to do that at the point of my hire in June of 2025. Again, this spring, and ask the question of, when we do it next year, where do we hope to see us heading towards? And so some highlights from where we're at now, staff clearly identified myself as well as the cabinet as strong and stable supportive leadership. They identified that they're feeling stronger connection with each other at the program level, as well as to our executive cabinet. Overall safety in our environment is improving and there's more support, better communication, and more focus on wellness. So some great things to highlight for the board. That was a lot of information and hopefully a short chunk of time. So I am gonna pause for additional questions before I highlight.
I have a question comment thing. Alex, can you remind me how long you've been in your position?
I started August of this year.
This is very impressive. For me, it's just, that's some good work.
We're having some audio issues. We can hear you just a little bit.
Try it again.
Okay, I was praising. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. I was praising that this is a great report. It shows a really clear focus on the staff to create this unified approach, and as well as the care for the staff. I'm just impressed that this has been accomplished in this year with you coming on board this year, Alex.
Thank you.
Yeah, Alex has done a tremendous job. Nancy queued him up very well with the work that she did last year in transition, and then Alex has done a tremendous job with the staff. And what the information that we've heard is they're in a much different spot than we were in a year ago, certainly 2 or 3 years ago. So yeah, kudos.
I like that you're using both qualitative and quantitative data to show that improvement is happening and that people are feeling more supportive.
Yeah, I think that's also important to highlight, that we don't want to rely solely on something like the professional quality of life indicator or the empathy interviews. We want to look at the combined themes to better describe our complete picture.
What do we call your facility? Because I've been around long enough to know that it used to be the farm home, and then you watch people's face go, ooh, you know. Is it still the farm home? Do we prefer long-term care and treatment? What's the best? When I want to talk about that place, and I want to talk about my positive experience there, and I don't want people's face to be, ooh. So what do I call it?
From my perspective, I can tell you the official title, but I think it's more important about how you talk about us than what you call us. So the community is, I think, always going to call it the farm home or children's farm home for decades to come. It's officially called Trillium Family Services Corvallis Campus, and our education programs are called long-term care and treatment. However, even I saying that as principal, I'll get these looks like, well, what do you mean? It's like, often people call us farm homeschool, and then people go, oh. And so I'm more hoping that's the way in which you describe your experiences, whether you call it farm home or Trillium Family Services Corvallis Campus, is the most important through line.
And Alex is working on, Trillium had asked us in the future to change the name of the school because the school is the farm home school. So I think that's Alex's
Logged is
in ODE. Yeah. And so I think Alex is greatest contentious decision that he's got upcoming now is the actual new name. So I think that's, but yeah, we are working at actually renaming it. It's just gonna take a little bit of time.
Absolutely, because of course it's been the farm home forever and
Yes.
people will have feelings and we'll respect that, I'm sure, but thank you for the talking points.
And do you folks know that the board room is not showing up on the video?
Yes, because the owl stopped working, and so Hyro just took it away. I'm not sure.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure y'all knew that.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Laurie. Yeah, as long as you can hear us still. So, yep. That's great. I think
Yeah.
Marion had a question.
I did. So the farm home work alongside with like DHS, with Department of Human Services, and getting like referrals when situations happen. Do you guys also get those?
Yeah, oftentimes those first go directly to Trillium Family Services or Wellness Center because they are the intake process. But some of our students are placed through a partnership through DHS or some kind of juvenile probation programs. So it's great. And then I add a real quick highlight I wanted to, and with Nancy's support, acknowledge a future presentation tied to our student investment account or unified application. Long-term care and treatment programs have been giving their first access to apply and receive and use these funds that traditionally were only given to K through 12 school districts. And so part of our desire for a future presentation is to give more detailed information on these 5 components. And I'll pause to make sure I'm not saying these. I think that's.
Yeah, I mean, we have applied for the money at this point, so now our next steps is to get board approval. And there's specific things that I've sent to Lisa, and we'll do that in July.
So I'll see you again next month, but wanted to give you a thorough notice that that's the goal.
Little forecasting.
Yes.
Yes, forecasting.
Yeah.
And you may have some stuff that will highlight that in the future. You're happy.
Thank you so much. Look forward to seeing it, and just it's such important services. Like these are kids who could so easily fall through the cracks. And so just knowing that there's adults so that we're able to help give consistency and connection and the educational support that's needed for these kids so that they can not fall through. Like just knowing that that support is out there is great. And it feels really good to be part of an organization that provides the services. So thank you for all the great work that you guys do out at LTCT, and it's such important work.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I forgot who said that, but Nancy and the cabinet really kind of highest levels of success that I got to help deliver through. So there's a shared ownership in that. So it's been a privilege.
And thank you too for all your work. Of course.
So now the volume is way down.
Oh, no. Okay. Technical issues.
I can see you, but hearing you is kind of hard.
What about now, Lori? Can you hear us, Lori?
I can hear some. Jason, would you talk?
Yeah, well, can you hear me okay now?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Thanks for bearing with us and technical difficulties, Lori. Sorry about that. Okay. So next up is the open house and special education care report. And I just wanted to say that the board has told Jason this several times, but and I heard that it was your idea, Michelle, to have the open house be combined with the special education resource fair. And I just think that was such a fantastic idea. And I mean, the success speaks for itself. Like I've gone the last 3 years in a row, and this last year I couldn't even find a spot in the parking lot, and I was excited about it. I was like, yay! Like there was a lot of people here. So go ahead. Thank you so much. I just wanted to mention that was an amazing idea, and it's really exciting to see how it's progressed from year to year.
Yeah. So thank you. So I'm Michelle Nielsen. I'm an autism consultant. And tonight I'm going to share some highlights, but This was the 10th year. It started originally as an autism resource fair. And the autism team and myself are going to different districts and they're trying to cover all the counties. And then when the ESD remodeled is when we decided to build it into an open house to highlight our amazing buildings, but also everything that we can offer. Absolutely. So I'm going to share some highlights. With the support of an incredible planning committee, we had 43 ESD volunteers, 55 vendors, and numerous community partners, and we welcomed more than 137 individuals and families this year. So here's some success and how it came together. There we go. Okay. So before the event could even happen, this year, I actually had a committee, and years past I've just done it by myself. And it has just grown so big that I can't do it by myself anymore. It's just too much. It's like a second job. So I sent an email and asked people who would be interested in joining, and these wonderful people were on our committee this year, and we started meeting in October, and we met monthly. And they worked from every aspect, from vendor recruitment to promotion to logistics, activities, and volunteer coordination. And their dedication was truly the foundation of the success. Here's some of our community table hosts. So our primary goal each year is to connect families and community resources. Throughout the efforts of our community members, Cindy Drew Hard, Jody Dodd, and Kathleen Begging Johnson recruited a record-breaking 43 community organizations to participate. These organizations represent a wide range of services and supports available to children and families throughout our region. Several community members spearheaded essential promotional and logistical tasks in addition to hosting tables and the event. So here are some of our wonderful ESD table hosts. The event featured a wide array of engaging activities. We had EI PCS who provided hands-on tasks focused on regulation. Caregivers received books and resources from the SPSS staff right here. Let's see. C's and Chris offered sensory bottle making.
No idea.
You now set a timer for yourself.
Thank you. I just went forward and it's going. So here you have the AAC staff and some of the SPSS staff. Thank you, Myra. And we also had autism and deaf party hearing supporting the speakers. We had raffle baskets and sensory bags were a huge hit. We had over 100 sensory bags that we handed out, and the ones that we left over, we dropped off to early intervention that were handed out to our new students who were just found eligible with autism. And we had 7 raffle baskets that were created, and a lot of the families were just really excited to be part of everything. So some of the events and activities that we had slime making, so here's Jody and Cindy. The families enjoyed slime making, sensory activity books, visual supports, and resources focused on regulation and communication. One of our biggest attractions was our sensory petting zoo, and this is the 4-H group that's been here the last 2 years in the community, and they're just wonderful. The kids are great. And then this year we highlighted these are Larry and Caesar Mama. And everybody was excited to have him here. And these activities help create a welcoming environment where families could learn, explore resources, and simply enjoy being together. And then one of our autism consultants, Ryan Stanley, and then the GAPS autism consultants, it's one of them and an assistant, and the one who's sick that night. They hosted a sensory room for kiddos. It was just too much to be out in the building, and that was wonderful. Okay, And then, of course, our ESD volunteers and.
Look at that.
I love it. So we couldn't do the event without our volunteers. We had 43 ESD employees donate their time to welcome families, host activities, and assist vendors, and ensure everything ran smoothly. The feedback we received was overwhelmingly positive. Vendors rated the event at 4.58 out of 5 and consistently reported that attending families were exactly the audience that they had hoped to connect. Even more importantly, vendors felt the event made a meaningful difference, and every survey respondent indicated that they would like to participate again.
That's great.
And then here.
Don, you came so that you could see your picture and. No,
that's not okay.
Yeah.
So here's just by the numbers, this is our flyer from this year. So this was our 10th year. We had more than 137 individuals and families served. 55 total vendors, including 43 community organizations and 12 ESD programs. 43 ESD staff members served as volunteers and hosts. And this year's event represented the largest outreach ever yet, expanding across the resources and sensory inclusive opportunities for families throughout. So I want to give a big thank you to Brandy Lancaster, Nathan Howard, and many ESD staff who shared their photographs, and the entire Open House Resource Committee just about them also that into the families. And a big thank you. We're already planning for next year. With Jason's help, we are planning on April 8th, 2027 from 5 to 7 to host the event again. And we're grateful for the continued support of the board and the cabinet for making this event possible and allowing us to serve families throughout the region. So thank you, and if there's any questions.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
I have a question. Why are you so awesome?
Well, like Amy said, I came over to walk through the open house, and after, I don't know, 4 to 6 circles around the building, gave up and parked at 7-Eleven, which is the best possible problem to have, you know, like, I mean, they're just people, just watch people walking up the sidewalks and the parking lot packed and every side street packed. And, you know, a lot of times, I don't know if it's just over on the coast, but you know, when you tell people that you're a part of the ESD in any way, they go, "What's an ESD?" And these are the fun things to brag about. Look at all the things we do. Yeah. So thank you for all your hard work.
You're welcome. Yeah, we're getting to a point where we almost can't host.
It was packed. It was packed. Yeah.
Keep adding things in the hallways, all. Yeah.
And I mean, this sort of event is what helps us, like, with the problem of what is an ESD. This is how we build that community knowledge and those connections so that the community knows what resources are available, not just at the ESD, importantly at the ESD, but also the community resources, the community organizations that we work with. Yes. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And my autism team has worked really hard, and I know that the Census, which is now going to be K-12, are working really hard to put a lot of these resources on our website and make it very easily accessible for families. And so every year that we have this big of an event, we actually include all that information on our website.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
Let's see, we're gonna be here next year.
We'll see. Sam's pretty awesome. He was pretty awesome. He did flip and scared us. But
He fell.
yeah, he slipped and fell, and so he was okay, but he got a little overstimulated and then that's his strength. So
As he was leaving from it, yeah.
Okay, so you're gonna go after all the fun ones.
Yeah.
And your lovely pictures.
Sure, yeah, Alex's A+ report and the people that praise the best that we put on, let's talk money.
Well, but at least now we know what we can use as our annual picture for the budget.
Yes.
If that's not on the cover of my adopted budget,
Every budget.
I will not approve. I'll rescind my vote.
And I'm like, how do we miss it for this year?
It is officially my family's favorite photo.
Jamie made sure of that.
Yeah. All right, let's go to page 108 and see what happened with money this month. So starting with revenues, we reported about $2.6 million of revenues for the month, the overwhelming majority of which is the state school fund. Reason being, we got our final catch-up payment from the late audit came in. The final payment for the year for the school fund came in, and there was a $250,000 true-up that came in. So ODE reconciles the prior year and they say, hey, either you get some money or you owe some money. And we got a little bit. So we got about $2.4 million of state school fund. Other than that, we had sort of various little billings that happened across the funds. As we look towards June, two things of note: we should see a spike in our tax receipts as everybody scrambles to pay their tax payments before penalties are due. So we usually get a pretty good surge that comes in June, and there is no state school fund payment in June. Talk to me later about history. Looking at expenditures down on page 109. Pretty standard month. We had $3.6 million of expenditures. The only thing out of the ordinary in there, you'll see under the other expenditures on debt services, $397,000. That is us making our second and largest debt payment of the year. That trues us up. We are done with that until next year. We'll go through again. Absent that 397 that's in there, you're looking at a normal month of expenses that we've seen come through time and time again. Again, thinking about the current month of June, everything is going to explode in June because we have a triple payroll that is reported in June. So we're going to see those expenditures go way, way up. So don't anybody be shocked when you see that reach the $6 million mark for the month. We didn't go haywire. On page 110, we'll just take a look at the cash balance. The cash continues to sit a very healthy range at about $22.8 million, most of which is sitting in LGIP earning interest. Now, again, that number is going to plummet in June because we're going to pay some really big expenditures going out, both in terms of payroll, which will also hit some final checks that will go through at the end of the year, which will include things like getting some final IT things in, but also our large districts on there that have tier 2 funds that use it for transits. They will transit out a large sum of cash. So we will see really, really big expenditures come up in June. It's all to be expected. And other than that, looking at page 111, just for cash balance trend on there. Cash balance continues to be healthy. We should see ourselves level off at about the area that we are. If you take a look at the trailing, I would expect that that's about where we're going to sit for a while. We had a very low year last year because of extremely late payments that came in. So we should be seeing here, which is probably a pretty good indication of what a trailing 12-month norm is. And that is barring any of the things that are outside of our control. Like, for instance, our district saying, hey, you know what? We have $3 million parked with you. We would like it right now. If that happens, it's going to go down to $3 million. But other than that, everything seems to be good. Interest rates holding steady at 4%. Any questions for anyone?
You may have partially answered this already. So I was just, and I know there's still a month left in the fiscal year, but just on the revenue page, looking at where current year to date as opposed to the annual budget, so there's still a decent gap.
Yes. So the decent gap that you will see is a lot of which has to do with collections in the special revenue funds. So if you'll see, most of it on there is we don't record the revenues until they are actually received in on a cash basis. So right now, all of our final billings for 1/3 of the expenditures that goes out on our grants, we haven't claimed the revenues on. We won't claim them until after the close of June 30. So we will get them within 45 days of closing, and then those revenues will pop up closer to the budgeted figure. We probably will be actually close to that figure because of a couple of offsetting items. We budget a little more in the special revenues. We always leave something out there in case we get additional grants. We don't have to come back for appropriations, but we blew the doors off that Medicaid number. That Medicaid number is going to go way, way up. So you should see most of it settle out in the final month. And you won't see it recorded when I show financials next month. It'll be after the fact that it'll come in.
Yeah. Thank you for the explanation. I know
Yes.
that sometimes it takes a while for all those numbers for all the funds to come in and for all the.
It does, and it's because we're on the very weird modified accrual accounting. If we run normal accrual accounting on there, we would just report it when it is earned, rather than when it is received, and you just see it come in a more timely fashion, but that's what we did.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Other questions? Is that for me?
All right, sorry, I was reading my agenda. So on to Jason, I believe, for the superintendent report. Yeah.
Yes, I have two items here. To start with, just to highlight a couple of items on our strategic tasks report. Want to just give kudos to Christina and her team on some good work. It's on page 113. The first one of which is very much something that Christina gets the credit for, is putting together training modules that have been delivered, 6 of the 7. We're doing another module with our July Leadership Council retreat. And so we've had a great time with Professor Wonderly doing HR training. So that's been really great. And then the other one is regarding putting together new employee orientation. And so I know she's in the middle of that, and you can see that there. So that's
I have a question on that. On the module, the same module, since it's 6 out of the 7 training, so there's still one more training to be done, correct?
Correct.
So wouldn't that still not be complete though? Because there's still one pending?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we could say that it's still going. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I mean, I just want to clarify,
Yeah.
that complete indicates that it's done. But if it still has one more module to be completed, then it's not complete.
Yep, absolutely. You can make that adjustment. I'll just write milestone.
Do those like kind of modules, I mean, I know they're obviously for our folks internally. Is there ever any trickle out to districts as far as like, hey, HR departments, I've developed this really cool thing. Maybe you want to.
We actually have been talking with our superintendent group about that. And Christina and I are going to be putting some things together for superintendents and administrators, particularly for building level leaders, and doing some modules here at the ESD where administrative districts can participate. Because as we've talked about this, and I've been bragging on Christina, as I've had one-on-one meetings with superintendents and everything, they've asked that same question. Oh, wow, could we have access to some of that?
The NIOS training thing was an eye opener for me, and to have never been part of something like that prior to interviews. I haven't gone down and asked our HR, like, do we, and I haven't been in interviews in a while at our place, but like, are we doing anything like that? Are we thinking? And so that's what made me wonder how much of that's trickling out.
Yeah, it's going to be really exciting.
And the data that we have here is pretty impressive. At 92.5 felt the training provided a high return on time invested. People were usually, fairly picky about giving up their time for things. And then 86.8 indicated they felt the information was relevant to their job. And I just, whoa, that's pretty.
Those are good numbers.
Yeah. Okay, and then the other thing that I have for you is a draft document. And this is, I will preface this with, this is a working document, but I always want to bring my goals, our executive goals and superintendent goals to the board every June. And so
What you have in front of you on pages 115 and 116 are the goals that our team and I have put together. And this is a starting point because what we will do is we will take these goals into our administrative retreat that is in the third week of July and start working with the administrators on their program specific goals that align with these. We're fairly certain we have pretty good alignment because at this point, because of changes that we've made in the composition of the executive team, we actually have complete representation of our entire organization on our executive team. So it's very fair to say that we will have strong alignment in terms of what we can expect in terms of program goals. But it is possible that by doing that process, because the process definitely improves things and clarifies things, that I might make some adjustment to these after they see the light of day, so to speak, for the rest of the administrative team. So we'll work on that in July. I will wrap these into the overall strategic plan and bring it to you in August or September, probably August, but it could be September for the board to have a chance to review. I would entertain any questions that you have.
In this document, superintendent and executive council goals, different than your superintendent goals that we evaluate on. Is that true?
No, one of the same.
One of the same. I very much I had no problem with the evaluation process that we followed this last year.
Yeah.
Coming in partway through the year, there were lots of areas where I just didn't have enough experience with you yet. And so I made myself a note tonight to ask for whatever your evaluation questions are, because I want to be able to watch for those things all throughout the year so that at the end I can give some kind of valuable feedback.
Yeah. From my perspective, and I know this is not necessarily the case in every district, in every situation with the superintendent evaluation. It is one of those things, though, from my perspective, that our success is very much a team sport. And the way that I will always look at it is that when things are going really well, there will be big kudos to the team. If something goes sideways, you can look to me. And so that's really why that they're all together to look at it as those team goals. Some of which at times are absolutely directly related to work that I'm doing. It's really just me. However, I think as our team has developed, and certainly they can kick me under the proverbial table here if I'm saying this wrong, but I think it's getting harder and harder to tell like what is specifically one person's thing. You know, there are times, like I said in the task, that was very much Christina. Like Christina put together the modules, that was very much Christina. However, I think we're getting to be a much more interdependent executive team where it'd be awfully hard to say like, oh, that was mine and not Nancy's, or that was Nancy's and not mine, or Tim's and I mean, like that sort of thing. Other questions?
Yeah, which ESD is ESD?
Southern Oregon.
Oh, that's okay. That's what I thought, but I was like, why haven't I seen it?
Yeah, it's down in Medford. Yep.
And then for the new leadership, Southwest ESD, did they get a new superintendent?
They did.
Oh, that's right, because she retired, right? Or was that
Yeah, he's retiring.
I'm thinking of Kuste. Never mind.
Yeah, well, there was a woman that was there before Tennille who went to ODE. And then there was a different gentleman that was superintendent for the last few years, and he's retiring. And so there's a new person coming in that as soon as we get into July here, I'm gonna get started. But I've already met him. When we had the last superintendent council meeting for OESD at the Sun River Conference, I got to know him more. That is all I have for this evening. Thank you.
Could you talk about spring in service that was just last week?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, so
just off the cuff, I know.
Yeah, no,
I didn't.
No, it's
remember
quite all right. We did something a little different with Spring in Service in that in past many years, Spring in Service was always a little bit more of a sit and get type of, presentation and, go through and acknowledge retirements and years of service. And it was a little more of a dog and pony show on the part of the executive team saying some things. It's now I don't remember the time frame, but maybe 2 or 3 months ago, probably more like 3 months ago or 4 months ago at this point, it was right after winter break. We put out a survey to the staff to kind of ask, what do you like? What don't you like? Thoughts about, we've heard information anecdotally that people wanted something more informal and just a chance to connect with each other. And so when we put the survey out there, it was overwhelming that yes, go ahead and can what you've done in the past, change it to something more informal. People still want to acknowledge retirees and acknowledge years of service. Years of service are a little bit more informal. That we had a slideshow that was going through, and then retirees were being acknowledged in their programs where they're more known anyway. And so we really just had a barbecue and people played yard games and came out and hung out, and it was pretty fun. So and I guess the gauge that I had is that you can kind of see like any informal sort of event that if people linger and like after people ate, they didn't just skedaddle, like people kind of hung out with their different folks and lingered a little bit, and it was a good time.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, and then, so Lisa kindly sent these on to us today, so I just wanted to share a little bit in the meeting. So we got a kind note from, an employee who was just appreciative of the time and financial support to attend the American Physical Therapy Association's, conference. Sounds like, and then just what she gained from it, and that she was able to come back and share with her peers at LBL what she learned. So that's always good to hear, just how much those professional development opportunities matter and make a difference. And then also Nathan Rizzo.
So shocked by this with this other people.
Yes, just I mean, he wrote a letter just expressing how much he appreciates Jason as a boss and as a leader, and just talking about how Jason leads as a servant and isn't afraid to get into the trenches and get do the dirty work, which is really important because a lot of leaders aren't able to do that. And then he says, people feel seen, people feel trusted, and as a result, they show up. So I just think you deserve credit for your quality of leadership. So I wanted to acknowledge that in the meeting. And yeah,
it was really nice. It was a really pleasant surprise to me in my day.
Absolutely, yes, for sure. And then yes, information only for you to peruse at your on your own time. And then important dates, our next meeting is our next meeting is July 21st. From 6 to 8, that's our next regularly scheduled meeting. There is an OSBA summer school on Thursday, July 16th. That is optional, but if you are interested in that, it's in Eugene. And then beyond that, it's just our August meeting on August 18th. And that is it. So we will go ahead and adjourn at 7:38.